Hey folks, welcome back. My name is Krishna. In this video, we're going to tackle something fun. We're going to learn how to make a hair brush. Not the kind that you use to comb your hair, but the kind that you can use to render things like hair or something that has a very textured look, like say pipes or braided cables, things of that nature. So in this process, you'll learn how to make a brush and also how to make this very specific brush. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to begin by making a blank canvas. I have it already saved here, but basically I'm making a brush that is 1,000 pixels wide by 1,000 pixels tall, 600 pixels per inch. And what's important is I want to make sure that this is on a transparent background. Once I've done that, I'm going to click Create. And this is my playing field where I'm going to design the brush. Let's start off by making a circle. So I'm going to use the circular shape tool. I'm going to ensure that I don't have a fill and that I do have a stroke, and my stroke is set to 15. I'll just go ahead and hold down the Shift key to constrain that circle so it's got the proper proportions. And what I want to do next is I want to warp this particular shape. I'll hit Command T. That brings up the Transform tool. With the Transform tool in place, if I right-click, I can choose Warp. And this gives me the ability to make some modifications to how I want to warp this particular shape. I'm going to go ahead and choose Bulge. If I select Bulge, I have the ability to control how much that bulge will be influencing this overall shape. So up above, you'll see a parameter called Bend. If I move my cursor above the word, directly above the word Bend, you'll see that there's a bidirectional set of arrows. If I drag that to the left, now I've got a shape that looks sort of like a squircle. And this is the shape that I'm going to use as my starting point. I'll go ahead and hit Enter. We can see that this squircle has some vertices that go around it, and I want to be able to manipulate those vertices. To do that, I want to use something called the Direct Selection tool. And that is this white arrow that you see over here in the toolbar. You can also access it by hitting the letter A. And that turns your cursor into the Direct Selection tool. I'm going to simply click on the leftmost vertice, and I'm going to drag it to where it extends beyond the right side of the squircle. Once I've done that, I want to now sharpen up these 2 points that you see on the left of this particular shape. I can do that by selecting the small blue handle and dragging it inside. And you can see that it almost has like a sharp crescent moon type of look. I'll do the same thing for the bottom one here. Move this in. And if you've got a shape that looks something like this, I think you're in a good place. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to take this shape and turn it into a brush. To do that, we're going to go up to Edit. We're going to define a brush preset. I will give this a name. I will call this KD Hair 5 because I've created already several brushes here. And the number that you're seeing underneath this brush is the total square pixel box that would extend around this particular shape. So it says that this entire shape can be enclosed within a 699 pixel box. I'm going to click OK. My cursor transforms to the actual brush itself. So that means now I'm ready to go ahead and manipulate some of the properties of this brush. Let's go back to our original canvas. And I need to modify some of those properties. If I click on the small folder that contains a brush in Photoshop, I have the ability to modify various parameters. I'm just going to move this up here. First of all, I don't need the brush to be this big. So I'm going to go ahead and drag the size to about maybe 60 or so pixels. Next, what I'll do is I want to be able to have some tapering on this brush. Right now, you can see that the brush is pretty much, if I draw with it, it creates these perfectly parallel edges. I want to have those edges kind of taper. I'm going to click on Shape Dynamics, go into the Shape Dynamics section there. Under Control, I want to choose Pen Pressure. And you can see right away that the ends of this brush now sharpen up. So if I were to use this brush, I have this nice line variance. So now that I've created this brush, one of the things that I recommend doing is saving this as a preset. I like to save my brushes in the Tool Presets panel. So if I go to Window and choose Tool Presets, I can go ahead and right-click and choose New Tool Preset, and I can give it a name. I'll just call this Katie Hair 2, and I'll click OK. If I want to optionally save the color, I can go ahead and do so. So now I've got this brush. I can quickly access it from my Tool Presets. Now, in my setup, I automatically have it saving my brushes to the Tool Presets. If you're using another version of, if you're using Photoshop and you haven't actually used the Tool Presets before, Photoshop will insist that it saves your work to the brush presets, which is fine. You just have to access your brushes through the brushes panel. And I've talked about this in previous videos. You can see all the brushes that I've created are over here. But I just find this particular place, I think of it as like a large shelf that contains all of my brushes. The Tool Presets are kind of the brushes that I have at my desk. It's stuff that I use on a regular basis. I just want quick access to it. I don't want to have to search for it. So all of those Tool Presets exist in this particular area, which is why I prefer the Tool Presets. So let's see how we can actually use this. Well, we can go ahead and create some lines. I'm going to kind of mimic hair here. You can see it goes from thin to thick. I can add some curls and swirls. At the thinner sizes, it kind of really looks like almost like a pencil. But at the thicker sizes, we can start to see that this actually has some body. It has some volume to it, which is pretty cool. You can also use it for things like curly hair. One thing I would recommend there is to play with the size of your brush so that you're not just dealing with the same size brush, because it looks a little bit more digital. The idea is to make it look somewhat organic, but it does create this really cool type of texture that you can use for things like hair. You can also use it for cords and cables. It's really your imagination is your limit, but you've got this really nice brush that you can use. And the very last thing I'm going to show you here is, if I make a brand new layer, a fun treat might be to use the radial symmetry tool. And I'm going to make the radial symmetry count to 6. I'll hit return. And just if you're looking to noodle around and come up with some really cool, trippy types of shapes, this gives a little bit more of that nice thickness. It has a very organic looking shape to it. It doesn't feel as thin as just say a normal inking brush. You have something that has some flair. It has this nice thin and thick, plus each of these shapes appears to be round. They appear to be, having some type of form. So there you go. That's the secret on how you can make a really nice hairbrush. You don't have to buy something like this, but if you are interested in getting some brushes that I use, I don't have the hairbrush in my brush pack, but I have other inking and penciling brushes that might be worth your purview. Take a look at the description for this video and check it out. They're affordably priced and they might just be what you need. They work on Photoshop, Procreate, Krita, and even Affinity Designer too. So thanks so much for watching the video, and if you get any value out of this, give it a thumbs up so more folks can find it, and I will catch you in the next one. See ya.